My name is Ashutosh Malegaonkar. I am a principal engineer with Cisco DevNet, and I've been with Cisco for like about 20 plus years. I've done like routers, I've done like 2 startups inside Cisco, and been like a part of the founding team when DevNet started 5 years back. So I'm really happy to present in front of you today. So today what I'm going to talk about is the DevNet ML Workbench, and like a little bit about me. As I said, been here for some time, and like today's talk, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a journey into how we started doing ML in the DevNet world. So the agenda for today, like I'm going to introduce you to something called as co-creations. I know like 1 year back when I did the first presentation, it was about like, hey, the best kept secret. And I said I introduced DevNet at that point. But today what I'm going to do is introduce you to what we call as co-creations and what it does. So that's one. The second is that what is Cisco's overall view of ML? And I'm not going to like get into details on that, but I'll give you a quick overview on some of the research that is also happening in that world. The third one is that we'll talk about some of the, like the dev center that we have in DevNet. And then at the end, I'll walk you through some of the projects that we have done in the DevNet world. So let me start off by giving you a quick overview of what DevNet Co-Creations is all about. So Co-Creations is a group, we are a group of like developers, evangelists, thinkers, design thinking as well. And what we do is we help out like 3 personas. The first persona is our strategic partners. And these are essentially like the Googles, Apples, NVIDIAs, Verizons. So we work with them because Cisco as a whole is partnering with them, and there is a developer angle to like everything that happens with those companies. So we work with them. That's the first persona. The second one is about the customers and partners that we actually work with. And these are customers who would say, hey, you know, like we have this idea, but we want to take it to the next level. And if you think about it this way, right? APIs are pretty new to a lot of our customers. People can do something in the lab, but when it comes to real world, like actually implementing, they said, hey, can we actually work with you to actually make it happen? So that's something that we are seeing more and more with our customers. And finally, like inside our business units and technology groups and our vertical teams, we actually work with them hand in hand so that we can show off some of their cool technologies as well. So for example, like, you know, for the Wi-Fi 6 launch that we had, we actually built out some demos for them to show off like what is the art of possible of doing Wi-Fi 6 and APIs and bringing apps into the world. So these are the 3 basic like, you know, things that we do at DevNet. At DevNet Co-Creations. And like with this, like typically like the way we engage with our developers is we have like what we call as a co-create workshop. And in the co-create workshop, we essentially like have the customer come in, like work on bring in a problem statement, and in a 2 or 3 day point, we are able to like actually build out maybe a working prototype with them. And that could be like a clickable app. It could be a system architecture diagram. It could be a lot of things for a lot of different customers. So that's something that we can go through some design thinking with them. We can actually do some like, you know, prototyping and do that. The second one, where we call as a co-creation project. And this is typically like a quarter of engagement where like they come in and we say like either the customer or the partner says, hey, we'll have 1 engineer work with you. And we build out a POC in such a way that it is actually working on their site, right? It's not like in our labs, but it is with them. So that's something that we do. And the last phase is the actual implementation phase. And this is where we could have our CX teams, we could have a partner, we could have a partner of the customer's choice, take it to the next level. So that's the engagement model that we have. And this is the model that we want to like keep on trying and see if we can refine it as we go forward. So please stop me anytime if you have any questions, so I can do that. So the main motivation is for this talk is like, you know, like believe it or not, like back, as I said, back in 2007, we did a startup, and the startup, what it was doing was it was looking at network traffic as it came in the switches. We had a span port connected, and we did deep packet inspection, and we mined that data to see like connections of which device talks to whom. And it was something that we did not call it machine learning at that time, but we had actually done a lot of work in there. So when the whole machine learning bandwagon started, it's something that I have done that a long time back, and that has intrigued a lot of my new ideas as well. And the other thing that also motivated me is, if you were at Cisco Live last year, we had a Pepper robot. And one of the things that really intrigued me is I accidentally actually reset the robot. And what ended up happening is the robot was fully without memory. And then when I tried to ask questions, it was as if I was talking to a blank screen, right? And that gave me that thing of hey, that we have to fill in the intelligence into the robot to make it happen. And that was something that was okay, I need to start digging in more, understanding what can be done, etc. So that was my motivation. And apart from that, we have customers who are coming in and saying, hey, ML is the thing, can you help us? We've heard about Wi-Fi 6, it can bring in AR, how can we take advantage of that? So those are the kind of questions that are coming in, and we are making sure that we can answer those. So let me actually shift gears now and talk about what Cisco is doing in the AI world. Now, for anything, right, one of the things that we want to talk about machine learning is the most important thing is data. And once you have data, you're able to extract the features from that data and apply algorithms on top of them. And what that would do is help you bring new ideas to the table. So this is basically that's how ML, which is in the center, you need data. Once you have data, you can extract those features, and then from the features, you can apply on top, you can have the algorithms. That's what will constitute that. So given this, now whom do you think, and you probably saw this slide before, but this is a slide that basically talks about everything that we have done in the past, right? The 30 years of experience, 35 years of experience that we have. We've seen why a particular bug happens, why a particular problem happens, and how it was resolved. So this is a knowledge base that we have gathered since a very long time. Now, if we can combine the data that's actually coming in, now think about it, right? If you see my first slide where I said I need data, and then I need to extract features. Now, how do you extract features? Is the way you would do it is you would also have labeled data. And that labeled data is the database or the knowledge that we have gathered over a period of time. Now, once you combine this information, you are able to actually get very good, accurate insights from the network, from the devices, from the people, everything on the network. Yes.
So how do you handle the fact that a lot of network data is ephemeral and unstructured, unlabeled?
Correct. And one of the things that we have is even if it is a packet stream, we would still use it as maybe a PCAP file, right? And then basically what you're saying is there are different types of protocols. So there are labeled data that and once you use that, you would actually put it in a particular format, a normalized format first, right? And that's the cleansing part of the data that happens before.
Yeah, that's semi-supervised learning. That's what that is.
Yes.
It's both structured, unstructured data.
Correct. And you start off, you have to start off with supervised learning, and then once you have that understanding, then you can start doing unsupervised.
Okay.
So basically, once you have this data, what Cisco has done is we've created this whole universe of networking. We've created the world of security. We've created the world of data center, collaboration, and IoT. Now, in each of these fields, what we have is in networking, we have intent-based networking. And today, we announced that there is a ML module that is part of it. And what it essentially is doing is it is taking data from all our customers anonymously, creating a model, and then you can apply that learning as well into other parts of your network. I mean, other customers as well. So that's the learning that is happening with intent-based networking. Security. I mean, I don't even have to talk about it. Talos, like it's been one of the biggest security, like hackers and people who actually have been using machine learning forever. And I'll walk you through one of the examples later, which will talk about the security angle as well. Data center, we released the ML480 platform, which is a big, 8-core GPU from NVIDIA. I mean, it's from Cisco, and the GPUs are basically on there. Kubeflow is another project that we've done with Google, and we are a bigger contributor on that. In the collaboration world, there are a lot of technologies like Vision. You've probably seen demos where if you're in a telepresence meeting, you're able to see your name show up on the screen. So those kind of things are coming in. And then in the IoT world, we have the Kinetic, where it's taking in all the data in the cloud, and you're able to actually run machine learning on that. And there are a lot of customers who are using that for us. Now, again, if I go back, there are three things that usually happen, right? It's the detection of identifying, which devices are on my network, what apps are running on my network, what are the users on my network, and what are the activities that are going on in the network. And essentially, this is how you would actually do the detection. You would do your analyze and improve, and finally, you would take action on that. And as an example, one of the things that we have is we have an application where we could actually look at, take a particular client, look at the history of that client just by making an API call and saying that, hey, tell me how has this client connected to which AP, and what are the problems that it faced. And that's something that we have done, and you can take action based on it would come back and say, hey, the certificate was expired, so that's why it was failing to connect. So those are the kind of things that you can do. Yes.
May I ask, are you basically kind of going through how DevNet is filling in this, these goals, because I see these things happening in hardware platforms and software platforms that Cisco sells and is developing. So are you describing this is now how DevNet also helps to achieve those goals?
That's where I'm coming now.
That's where you're coming?
So this was just giving you that overview. I'll walk you through some of the work that we have been doing. And so as I move forward, right, one of the things that we're working with a team in Australia, where they're actually detecting traffic based on devices based on the traffic that each of these devices are actually using. So in this case, this is a home network, it can automatically detect with 95% accuracy that this is that device. And once you are able to do that device, what it can do is we can actually do network segmentation based on that. So these are the kind of things that are happening in the research world at Cisco. Now, apart from that, so one of the API views is that we have built a simple, so Talos, what they do is they have this Intel threat roundup that they actually have every week. And what we do is through an API, you can actually pull in into our application, into the threat response, and get that information, the signatures of the different things that were released. And once you have that, you can actually say, okay, what was the problem? How can I actually mitigate it to different endpoints, like AMP or Umbrella? So that way, this is all API driven, and we've actually built it out to show how it can be done. So what I'll do now is I'm going to shift gears. Sorry, there's one more slide for collaboration. And as I said, in the collaboration world, there was the last thing, which was about vision, computer vision for recognizing people who are in the meeting, the audio and speech technologies where the teams are working on detecting dog barks, so that if you're in a WebEx meeting, if there's a dog barking, it would actually notify you saying that, hey, there's a dog barking, do you want to mute yourself? So like those kind of things are something that are happening as well in the products. So that's basically, as I said, right, a lot of things happening in that world. Now let me actually shift gears into like what DevNet has done. So what DevNet has done is we have essentially released a new developer center, and this is not a new one, it is an updated developer center where each of these buckets that I talked about, the networking, security, like data center. So we've actually like given you a plethora of like ideas, how demos, learning labs on how you would actually go about using some of those things. There are learning labs, there are sandboxes, etc. So like for example, like we've built a simple like learning lab that talks about an introduction to like monitoring encrypted traffic. So it's a workshop that we have done. You can go and take a learning lab on top of it and see how you can actually implement it or use it in your network as well. The bigger one is also our sandbox, which is the ML480 sandbox that ML480, which I talked about. So you as a developer or a partner can reserve that 8-core GPU box for 3 hours, right? And that's huge because a lot of the partners want to build machine learning models and they want to like use it to build out like newer models. So that's something that DevNet as a resource is actually giving out as well. Now, once you're on the level set of what we have in DevNet, what we are seeing is that a lot of other customers are reaching out to us in terms of the line of business applications, and especially like I've been working a lot on in the retail world, also in like a little bit in the IoT world. So the retailers are coming in and saying that they want to do theft detection. They want to do auto check-in, check-out. And the reason they're doing this is because they are a Cisco customer, but now the line of business is actually saying, can I implement a solution on top of Cisco products? And that's where like, I will talk about some of the use cases of like what we have done with our customers. So the first, yeah.
I'm sorry. I have so many questions today. Sorry. Is that how DevNet makes Cisco money? Is that I'm trying to because I know DevNet. I'm very familiar and I read a lot of stuff and I play with the sandbox. It's free. It's great online. But I was always wondering, what are they doing? Are they just doing this to be connected with the community and be part of that world of changing and networking, or how do they make money from this? And it sounds like you actually do interact with end customers to help them to create that ecosystem, using Cisco products that they purchased, and then they call you up and say, DevNet, can you help me out?
Yeah.
Is that really what's going on?
Yeah. So yeah, what's really going on is that the 5 years that we have been in, like since we started, these were our growing years, right? And at that point, like our main fundamental goal was to like learn, to teach people about APIs, because we were doing that transformation. So learning is essentially free. And what you're seeing today, like the announcement that was done, which is the DevNet certifications. So think about it as the learning that is happening. Now what you can do is you can take it to the next level of getting certified with those APIs. And that's going to bring in a lot of new like folks into the world, right, of programming with our APIs. So that's learning, and the second one is coding. So again, we give out sample code. So that's how we are able to like bring in more people to look at the sample code, or like say, hey, that's the same problem that I am facing. Can I do something? Can I use that same code in my production? So to answer your question about like how DevNet is actually making money, right? So far we have not gone to the route where we are doing like personally, like as DevNet, we have not started doing that, but we are in the process of doing that. So we will, again, you'll see new announcements coming out. But the good part of this is like the co-creations, as we have done co-creations as a free service so far. Right? And we are seeing like there's so much of interest that customers are coming, the account teams are coming to us and asking us all these questions.
So what you're saying is that soon this is going to be a professional services No?
Only.
Maybe these aren't questions I should be asking.
Yeah, so we, at this point in time, it's like the way it is, right?
Yeah.
But the good part is that we are going to inspire and have a bigger community of developers that we are actually making certified so that they can be hired into like Cisco customers, right? So that's going to be one of our biggest goals right now as we speak.
Okay, yeah, interesting.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to retail. So in the retail world, like one of our customers, they basically said that, hey, like we want to do an auto check-in, check-out. And this is something that they said where like, hey, we've seen Amazon Go store, people walk in, they grab something and get out. But for us, as a big retail store, that's not going to happen immediately for us. So can we actually have something in such a way that we can actually have a customer walk in anonymously, the main thing that the customers have is privacy of their data. So can we actually like anonymize that person who walks in, but at the same time, I'm able to get that information from a particular person, how he has navigated in the net, in their store. So what we did is essentially we created a simple application which gets integrated into their mobile app. And what you would do is once you go into the store, you would see a profile that you choose from. And once you choose that, we are able to anonymize that data. And from there onwards, you're able to see that, okay, this is if I walk in with my QR code, and then when I'm in front of the camera, it detects that this is Ashutosh, but in reality, it's going to be Ruth, because that's the profile that got generated. And then you can actually see as a store manager how people are traversing a network and how, if there's any help, if this person is waiting at a particular location for more than 5 minutes, they should actually send out a dispatch a person there. So those are the kind of use cases that we are seeing, apart from the camera analytics that people, which already Meraki is giving out, right? So that's something that we built, and the way we built this is using object recognition and detection. So essentially, we had the IP cameras that customers already have deployed. These are our traditional Cisco IP cameras, and then we used basically object recognition and detection. And at the same time, we had an application that said, okay, a person has checked in, and then as a person walks out, they can say you're automatically checked out. And if they are scanning their application, scanning products, then in the application they had MishiPay is one of our partners where we have integrated MishiPay in the application where they can scan an item and say that, okay, this item is checked out. And that's how they can actually start doing automatic checkouts. So this was something that we have built. The code is available on our code exchange. So people can actually see how integration was done with MishiPay. And in fact, that also talks about talking to Cisco Vision. So if somebody walks out without paying, then it would actually show it up on a Cisco Vision screen as well through APIs. So that was something that we worked on. And as I said, a lot of the work we did in our labs when we built it, we used our own boxes to build it out. So this was one example. The second example is about the Meraki cameras, and I know you probably know this, but this is something that the Meraki cameras have, which is basically detecting people. It also has the ability to do pixel level location analytics. So what it means is that if there's a table, and let's say that I mark it on the camera here, saying that if this remote moves, I want an alert to be notified. So you can build out those applications that way with MQTT, because they have a MQTT stream that's coming out. Now, essentially, probably this is again, what Meraki does. But what we have done is we have taken the snapshot API, and what the snapshot API allows you to do is essentially go and take a photo every so often, right? You can do it 1 second, 2 seconds, whatever it is. From the camera, you get the data, and then you can write your own application on top of it. So in this case, we used TensorFlow JS, which is it's a TensorFlow library, it's a JavaScript library which can run in the browser. So what you can do is you can have a Meraki camera, write a TensorFlow application, TensorFlow JS application in your browser, and you can say, like, as I said, like, tell me when this remote moves, and you can actually like write a simple application using that. So we have actually, like, again, open sourced this code in our code exchange, where you could take in the Meraki camera, take the snapshot API, and see the code in there. So that's something that, like, our developers can go and try it out today. Now, the third one is an interesting one, and this is where, like, what we essentially did is, like, we were trying to answer a couple of questions. The first question was, like, with IoT and the boxes that we have actually sold, like the IR1101 is a new router that we launched in February of this year. Now, what that box does is it brings in sensor data at the edge. One of the questions that we said is, can this box be used to bring in video as a sensor? And the reason for asking this question is we see a lot of, like, new types of streams coming in. Like, you have the 4K videos, you have the infrared sensing, you have like HDR video, you have a lot of other activities, other streams that are coming in. And it's sometimes, or most of the times in the IoT world, it's hard to actually send that data video stream upstream. So think about it as, like, you're on an oil rig, and what you want to do is do, let's say, smoke detection. And at that point, what you would do is you would place the IR1101, and, like, because that has an uplink to 4G, so you can use that as an uplink. But even if I have a camera, I'm not going to be able to stream that data all the way to your data center. So I would rather use something that is at the edge and use that to to do the analytics or inference at the edge. So the statements that we were trying to see is, can we reduce the bandwidth? Can we do something with also learning across the devices, right? So if something happens over here, we learn about it in a unsupervised way, and you take that learning and send it to the central entity. So in a summarized way. So those are the kind of things that we did. Now, so after February, what we did is we actually had a workshop, like in a lean startup way, and what we said is we want to, like, see if we can build a hardware, and this is a developer first approach. And in fact, like, this, in my mind, it is probably the first time when we said, okay, let's build a hardware, a prototype, and talk to our customers, talk to our partners, and see what they have to say about it. So what we did is, and not being secret about, like, hey, here's a new hardware that we built and go use it, right? Versus, like, hey, this is a concept. What do you think about it? Can you give us feedback on that hardware? And what you see is that in February, we just presented this concept to the leadership, and in April, we actually built out the hardware that you see here. So this is a 3D printed box, okay? It looks nice and like well finished, but it's actually something that we have, like, prototyped, and, like, we gave it to our customers. So we actually invited, like, 4 or 5 of our IoT partners, like AWS, Greengrass team was there, Wipro was there, Deloitte was there. So, like, there were 4 of these partners who came in, and they hacked on this hardware. And essentially, what they came up with is a tons of use cases. Like, some of them were in the oil and gas industry. Some of them were in like parking solutions. Some of them were like number plate for smart cities. They wanted to do like number plate recognition, so that like if there's an amber alert, can I actually detect that and send that information immediately? So that's something that like this hardware was able to do. So essentially, like it's built on the NVIDIA Jetson TX2 modules, and we used it at the edge. Now, what went inside this is we wrote a very simple K3s IO like IOX app. So for folks who don't know what K3s IO is, so it's a lighter weight version of Kubernetes. So it's basically, if you think about it as K8s, it's cut into half, so the 3 remains. So that's how I visualize it. So it's a lightweight Kubernetes. Again, I'm not very sure, but again, that's how I think about it. Okay, so it's K3s IO. It's a lightweight version of Kubernetes, and it is running a server as an IOX app. And then we have the agents running on the NVIDIA GPUs. So what we can do is form clusters of this and build out an application. So this is what we gave to our the 4 partners that we called in. We gave each one of them this box, and we allowed their ML development to happen, like essentially because in the ML world, the application developers know how to build models, like do data cleansing, everything, and then push it to their application. So we use that same pipeline, and we gave them tools to say, hey, here's a way for you to push your model or your application at the edge. So this is how we actually like built out the system, and we've got good feedback from the partners. In fact, like they've given us more feedback, and they're saying like, can we have this module like shipping soon? So like we've got very good positive feedback. So the 4th one is about the talent bridge for veterans. And every year, DevNet actually participates in a government program called the Opportunity Project. And this year, the problem statement that they had given was, can we use AI to connect veterans to like jobs or like apprenticeships, right? And what we said is like, let's take this up as a problem statement. And what we did is we partnered with NetAcad. So NetAcad actually has a platform called Talent Bridge. And what the Talent Bridge usually does is it usually connects the student candidates to recruiters. So recruiters can actually like first post the jobs in their platform. And then also like you'll have the students, you'll also have the networking academy students. Everybody is talking to the Talent Bridge portal. Now, essentially, what we added is another input into the whole system, where we said, as a veteran, let's bring in the veterans into the system. Now, one of the things that we noticed is that the veterans have their own way, there is something called as the MOS code, and that's how the veterans are, they know what their job description is. Now, in order for a veteran to actually translate that job into a civilian job is always hard. So even if I've been driving a vehicle, should I be just saying that I'm a driver? Those are the questions that actually people were asking us when we interviewed them. And some of them said yeah, I would take up a CCNA class, so that I've seen people go in that direction. So what we were able to do is take in a lot of data. So the government actually gave us ONET data. They gave us resumes for a lot of the veterans. So we used that data. We cleansed it, we created a model, and what essentially came out of that was, given an MOS code, what would come out is a civilian job and a description of that MOS code. And this fed into the Talent Bridge. And then once you're in the Talent Bridge, it's all normalized data. And then we've actually seen, in fact, the NetAcad team told us when we launched it, within like a few months, they had like 34 people actually come in and like make use of it as well.
What was the, sorry, what was the reaction to that from people when they saw, oh, this is what the computer told me to do?
Actually, because they, like what happens is like when they finish their service, they go through an exit interview.
Yep.
And a lot of times when they go through that exit interview, that is all handwritten. I mean, nobody actually feeds that data in. And like they said, like, hey, we've already told this data, but nobody's telling us what kind of jobs can be done, right? And like one of the examples when we interviewed one of the veterans, he said that, hey, like I've been managing a team of 5 people or whatever. So he has the leadership skills. But he never thought of himself as a manager. He always said, like, hey, I just do my job, and that job was a technician. But he never thought that he can apply for a leadership position or a program manager position. So those are the so people were like, hey, this is something that we will.
This is kind of the definition of machine learning. You took individual, like we'll call them tags on data, like leadership, or rather whatever he was in the military, and that is the same as in the data set as like this equates to the leader module in Python, or I don't know, whatever.
Absolutely.
And then you put all these little pieces together, and then you're able to make a prediction, which is what machine learning is all about.
Right.
That's very interesting. And applied to veterans and their exit interviews.
Yeah, and this was something that we are like. It's awesome to like see it. It's live in the Talent Bridge product, and we feel proud about it as well. So it's pretty good. So there are some projects that are in the works, and I'm going to walk you through like two or three projects. So the first one is the MindMeld Workbench. So how many of you know MindMeld? So it's a conversational platform. So Cisco acquired this company like a couple of years back, and like if you go on a WebEx board, and if you say, hey WebEx, and then it will come back, and it's like the Alexa for Cisco. But basically that would say like, hey, start my meeting, or can you call Ashutosh, those kind of things. Where now we recently, we actually open sourced MindMeld. And what it means is that anybody in the community can use a conversational, like this Workbench to build their own application. And think about it, right? I mean, in our networking world, like if people are able to like come up with simple use cases. One of the use cases which I've talked about or shown a couple of years back was I had a Meraki AP, and in a coffee shop we had a person who actually who is a daily wage worker, and for him, like we said, he wanted to start and stop the Wi-Fi network every day before he came in and left when he went home. So these kind of use cases where as an IT administrator, can I actually like schedule, talk to this AI agent and say, hey, can you actually make sure that this patch is applied overnight, right? Those kind of things, and it would come back and tell you that yes, it's scheduled, and here's the log where you can look at it, right? Those kind of things. We are trying to get our hands dirty with the MindMeld Workbench. The second one is about the wireless access points and AR application that we have built. So what it essentially does is it would actually go and figure out if you walk into any room, you'll be able to see what APs are around here based on BSS ID. And there's a lot of learning that happens once I get that information. How do I know where AP1 is, where AP2 is, and where AP3 is? So there's a machine learning model that we are trying to build to see like if I can directionally figure out how and where that AP is located based on like the signal strength, etc. And at the same time, because this is an AR app, if you go like close to the AP, point your camera. So again, there is image recognition. You can actually build a model to say recognize this as a 3800 AP, and then you can actually go query and the DNA center and get the data. So that's an application that we are working on. And the last one is about the IoT edge, where like this box that I talked about, what we have done is we have created a hard hat OSHA compliance demo, and what it essentially does is, like in a construction site or in a manufacturing floor where they want to figure out if people are compliant to in wearing the hat or not. So we've created this demo. Most likely we are going to open source the models for the hard hat so people can build on top of it, and that's where. So before I end, I would like to say so we have the DevNet co-creation site, which is developer.cisco.com/co-creations. And that's where you can actually go in, and if you want to engage with us, you can go and fill out the form and start engaging with us as well.